Oh, it works, good. Anyway, guten Tag, good afternoon, dzień dobry. Obviously, it's a great pleasure and honor and a privilege to be with you here today. Thank you to organizers, to Julianne and all the others for bringing me to this lovely place. I've never been before, so I appreciate it, particularly after having traveled all the way from India. Just quickly, a few words about myself. I'm an academic. I teach economics at the highest ranked business school in Poland, at Kosmiński University. I'm also a visiting professor at the highest ranked business school in China, Guanghua School of Management and Peking University. But I'm also a practitioner, which I think matters for this business forum. For the last more than 20 years, I have advised more than 20 countries around the world. Now I am based in India when I tried to advise the Indian government on how to become rich. Before I moved to India, I was the World Bank's lead economist in China, where I advised the Chinese government on private sector development, on innovation, on foreign direct investment, on business climate. And I think this advice perhaps has gone even too well. And in some way, I got recognized, but being perhaps the first and perhaps the only Polish and European economist that was invited to work on the red carpet with the Prime Minister of China, Li Keqiang. So these two perspectives, as an academic, as a practitioner, brings me to make 3 points with you today. About the future of Europe, about the future of Germany, about the future of Poland. First, I love Europe. There's no better place in the world. We are a happiness superpower, a lifestyle superpower. But I'm really worried about where we are going. I'm really worried about the future. I think we are faced with deindustrialization, policy defeatism, although you have not heard it from the Prime Minister, thank you very much, and from a relative global decline. And I want to share with you a couple of ideas of what needs to be done, not only from the Western European Draghi report perspective, but also from the Central European Polish perspective. So, Europe. Before I say this, let's appreciate that there is no happier continent in the world than Europe. 15 out of 20 happiest nations in the world, according to the last World Happiness Report, they are all in Europe. We are also a lifestyle superpower, and I don't need to convince you, having run along the lake in Bad Saro, I can hardly think of a more beautiful place in the world. And Europe has been a convergent superpower, which takes in poor countries and makes them rich. And Poland is a good example. But I'm really worried because for the last 25 years, Europe has grown only half as fast as America, and China has grown 5 times faster than Europe. As a result, when the Berlin Wall fell, the European Union was responsible for almost 30% of global GDP. Now it's only 15% of global GDP. In the next decade, it can go down to 10 or 12% of global GDP. Do you know when was the last time in humankind's history where Europe's share in global GDP was that low? It was during the Middle Ages. So within the next decade, Europe will have gone from its golden age back to its Gothic age, 800 years ago. So this is a big challenge. I'm not that pessimistic as this guy, and he's definitely not jumping, but I think we really need to deal with what is happening. The Americans have eaten our software lunch. All the global big techs are Americans, and it seems like they are also much better than us in creating AI. And the Chinese are eating our manufacturing lunch as we speak, deindustrializing Europe. And I understand in Germany, 10,000 manufacturing jobs are being lost every month. So what do we do? Or rather, before we do, a couple of things about why the old model cannot work, and we heard it from the Prime Minister. No more cheap energy from Moscow, no more cheap money from Frankfurt, no more cheap security from Washington, D.C., no more cheap labor from Warsaw, and no more cheap access to global markets from Beijing. This is all gone. I was not expecting to get that. Tell it now. I hope we can be a bit more optimistic. This is where I come in with what is it that we can do. I think we have to complement Draghi's report reform agenda, which I summarize into 3 I's: invest, integrate, innovate, with 3 additional C's: compete, coordinate, converge. And one word here, I love Mario Draghi. I'm a big admirer of his work. He deserves all the European awards. He saved the Eurozone, he saved Europe. I'm impressed by the Draghi's report. But this is a report of Western Europe, by Western Europe, for Western Europe. Would you believe that, would you imagine that in 328 pages of Draghi report, there's not a single mention of Poland, even though Poland is the China of Europe and the South Korea of Europe that has grown 5 times faster than Germany in that period. So this is why we need to put 3 C's into the agenda to learn some of the lessons from the country that I come from. So what are they? Thank you. Now, there's a lot of things, again, a lot of good ideas from the Draghi reports, but we have to do more. We cannot be naive anymore about the global markets. If I were to simplify and exaggerate, I would say that some countries, such as China, have proven to be better than the West in the economic system that the West have created. The economic system of global open markets for trade, for investment, for technology, for labor. The Chinese have, and lucky and kudos to them, have proven to be much better than us, but also for a lot of other reasons, like being able to subsidize some of the industries much more than we have ever been doing, and this is the official IMF data, not me. Now, so what are the couple of things that we could be doing? It's a long agenda. Julien only gave me 15 minutes today, so what is it I can do? But I think it's clear that the same way we have rejected fiscal fundamentalism, and particularly in Germany, and I warmly welcome this decision, I think we now have to reject free trade fundamentalism. I think we just cannot be the naive part of the global economy that continues to be open for exports from other countries around the world. We just simply have to learn also from the Chinese example and allow imports from the rest of the world only under the condition that it creates jobs in Cottbus, in Chemnitz, in Magdeburg, in Leipzig, and all over Germany, all over Europe, in all the places which are otherwise deindustrializing. And I think we also need to perhaps discuss whether euro is not too strong. If RMB could be so weak for so long, why is it that we are the only ones which we're not even discussing whether the euro could become more competitive? Now, coordinate. I'm sure you know Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, his famous speech in Davos earlier this year in January. I was there, I was listening to the speech. The bottom line is that the world has changed. The global superpowers, America and China, believe in different values that we do, and we have to adjust accordingly. And again, a long agenda, and I don't want to bore you with all the details, but clearly one specific example. Why don't we combine the biggest economy in Europe, Germany, and the most dynamic and most successful economy in Europe, Poland, and create something new? Why don't we, for instance, agree that for all the innovative AI companies that will create exactly the same corporate law, insolvency law, tax law, and labor law, so whenever we set up an AI company in Cottbus, or in Wrocław, or in Warsaw, all these young entrepreneurs will exactly know that no bureaucracy all over these 2 countries will matter. A very specific agenda. If we cannot agree on liberalizing and cutting red tape all across Europe, because there are 27 member countries, why don't we do it together? Germany and Poland. Now, and I mention AI because Poland is no longer just a place where you locate production because it's much cheaper. Poland is actually now one of the AI superpowers. This is a picture that shows 1/3 of the researchers that actually created OpenAI and created ChatGPT are Polish. Most of them actually come from Wrocław. One guy, Łukasz Kaiser, is actually my cousin, would you believe? Studied in Wrocław, studied in Aachen, and now he created GDP. He created OpenAI. But the point is, you have strengths. The Prime Minister of Brandenburg have just talked about. Poland has strengths, particularly on the digital agenda. We have gone cashless. We have gone digital. In many ways, Poland has technologically leapfrogged Germany. So why don't we combine it together and actually be stronger together within Europe and within the world? Now, you still with me? Raise your hand if you're with me. Still listening? Anyone can get my... Okay, good. Thank you. Just checking. So the last part, and an important part, because I think Draghi report has largely missed it. Convergence. As an economist, as a global economist, I'm so proud of the European Union. European Union is a global miracle that takes in poor countries and makes them rich. If you look at all the countries worldwide that have become rich over the last 40 years, 2/3 of them are in Europe. It's Southern Europe and Central Europe. This is exactly what we've been doing right. And I know it well from my personal experience. This is a Wurst store in Poland in the 1980s. 1980s. One of these ladies could easily be my grandma, standing in line overnight to get some kielbasa, some sausage in the morning. I remember these times really well. I was 14 in 1989. And we have moved, also thanks to the European Union, from this to this, which is a panorama of Warsaw. Poland has moved from being as poor as Jamaica in 1990, and those of you who have been courageous enough to venture east, and I know this is still takes a lot of courage. Most of my friends in Berlin have never made the trip. But you would see that Poland has moved from being almost as poor as Jamaica in 1990 to now being richer than Spain and Japan, and just about to be as rich as Italy, as the United Kingdom. If this is not a proof that European Union works, then I don't know what is. But we are not done. 2/3 of European Union members are actually poorer than the EU average. 2/3, including France, including Italy, including Spain. So it's not only the Central European story. We would all benefit from actually making sure that everyone becomes richer. If, just as an illustration, if all of these poorer countries in the European Union improved to 100% of the EU average, the impact on EU's total GDP would be as large as all of Draghi's reforms. This is really big. We could create another GDP of the size of France if we really look at this. And convergence financing works for everyone. Actually, and it works really well because, as you can see on the impact of the most recent post-COVID financing instruments, it has actually worked the way it should. It has supported the countries with the largest growth potential the most. Greece, Portugal, Croatia, but also Italy, Spain, and Germany too. And I think Germany included. Why it matters? It matters because it's a win-win. German exports to Poland between 1990 and 2025 increased by 33 times. From about 3 billion euro to now 100 billion euro. There are estimates that suggest that all of these exports have created and sustained about 500,000 jobs all across Germany and probably up to 100,000 jobs in East Germany alone. And now that the Chinese do not want to buy BMWs anymore, I'm really so sorry, focusing on the export market that still want to buy BMWs, and I do, and we do, is really the right way to go. What are the couple of things that we can do? Obviously, double down on what has worked so far. Why don't we also, and I heard Prime Minister say this, why don't we invest in cross-regional infrastructure? I just checked that, would you believe that a train from Berlin to Wrocław, Breslau, now takes 1.5 hours longer than 100 years ago. If this is not embarrassing, then I don't know what is. I have a lot of more ideas, but Julian is really tough, so I'll just conclude. First, having lived in India, in China, in America, and all of these places, I've become even more of a European. There's no better continent in the world, and I think it's our responsibility to save it, not only for us, the Europeans, but also for the rest of the world. What will be decided within the next decade is whether the world 50 years from now, when I'm 100, will be more Chinese, more American, or more European. And I want the world to be more European. So we really need courage. We need to get going. We need to not only implement Draghi reforms, as useful as they are, but we also need to double down on competition, on convergence, and on coordination. And lastly, we'll never be America, pretty much, probably we also don't want to. We'll never be China, which is mostly the focus on Draghi reforms, but we can do what has really worked well for Europe so far, creating and sharing prosperity across the whole continent. And this creation and sharing of prosperity should not be seen as a yesterday story, but as a tomorrow's strategy. Long live Europe. Thank you.